I think the concept of a political representative is just obsolete. It's just obsolete. We don't need them anymore. And I believe we must revolution now. I think that's the only answer. My name is Robert Walton. I'm a lifelong resident of the state of Utah. I live in Salt Lake City, and it's my honor to be in France for the last 2 months. And I want to express my deep gratitude to La France and to the Gilets Jaunes for their courageous leadership in the world today. I am here because we have anti-democratic activities happening in my home state. And when I was fortunate enough to see what was going on in France, coupled with these actions in Utah, I determined that it was very important to come to France and support the Gilets Jaunes. And not only to support them, but to bring a message about the RIC and the referendum initiated by the citizen, which we have in Utah in one form, and we've had it for 100 years. We have had the RIC since 1900. It has not been used a whole bunch, but it was used very deliberately with 4 questions that were on last November's ballot. Proposition 1 in Utah, that the people voted on this last fall, was, shall we have a tax on gasoline to pay for education? The proposal was 10 cents per gallon. There are some interesting aspects to this referendum, but the bottom line is that people voted no. We don't want a gas tax. And let's be clear about that. Some people think, oh, you know, taxing gasoline is a good idea, it's good for the environment, you know. Okay, but really, a sales tax of any kind, especially on something that everybody uses like gasoline, is really austerity. It's passing the expenses on to the people. Taxes against gasoline should be against the big gas companies, not against the daily users. And the people of Utah were smart and understood that and voted no. Now, Prop 2 was a cannabis question. Decriminalization of cannabis, so that even if you were in violation of the medical cannabis program, which was also passed in Prop 2, the worst that would happen to you was be like a parking ticket, an infraction, and a $100 fine. And that was supposed to take effect on December 1st of last year, and in fact it did. The following Monday, December 3rd, the governor called the state legislature into special session, and in one day, they passed 2 bills through the state legislature, and the governor signed it. One of them put the gas tax on, so the people of Utah have been paying 10 cents per gallon extra per gas since January 1 of this year, against the will of the people. And Prop 2, and then they recriminalized cannabis, so that they can now send you back to, if you're caught in possession of cannabis, you can go to jail for 6 months. Prop 3 was Medicaid Expansion, adopting the federal program to allow federal dollars to come to Utah to help lower income people get medical care. And they didn't overturn that in one day. They went through the legislative session in January, February, and March of this year and took it back over the will of the people. And there were some protests in Utah over that. We were inspired by the Gilets Jaunes, and we started protesting in front of the governor's mansion last December. Just a small group of us, and we would watch every Saturday, very early back home in Utah. It starts at about 3 in the morning. We start seeing the manifests in France and just being inspired by what we're seeing. And we're seeing the French fight for the RIC, which we have and is just being abused. We have a system of legalized bribery that basically subverts democracy everywhere. With the French, over 200 years ago, we formed the Republic. It was a great progress over monarchy, certainly, but it has run its course. And given the way that it's been set up with the money in the system, it's irreparably corrupt. And I believe we must revolution now. I think that's the only answer. I think we need a revolution to direct democracy, probably in some sort of virtual form. We don't really need politicians anymore. Technology is so far past our politics that our politics are almost irrelevant. I mean, look, we vote for stupid things in America, like American Idol or whatever. We do that on our phones. Why can't we decide issues? Voting for politicians, it doesn't matter how good the guy is. We could have the greatest president or the greatest person in the world run for president of the United States, and it is highly unlikely that he will be able to do anything about the U.S. military-industrial complex, which the citizens of America no longer have control of. In my work in politics, we try and get people to vote. That's what I've tried to do for most of my life. And inevitably, there's about half of the population that doesn't vote. And I used to be so angry with them. Why don't you vote? And I used to blame them. I don't anymore, because I think those regular people sort of look at the political system and already just sort of inherently know that this guy in a suit versus this guy in a suit, neither one of them are going to do anything for me. Why am I even wasting my time? I think, however, that if people are given the opportunity to vote on issues that matter to them, that they will vote. They don't want to vote for, you know, someone who looks like Macron, right? I mean, the deal there is get every hair in place and get your shoes right, and this is what it is to be a politician. It's not, this isn't the heart of democracy. I think the concept of a political representative is just obsolete. It's just obsolete. We don't need them anymore. So the big questions in the world can really only be answered by referenda. There are two ways to have a revolution in general, right? You can storm the Bastille, or you can, you know, overtake the government, overthrow them violently. Our governments are so militarized that I don't know that that's possible. Or you ignore them and you build something new, which is, I think, what we have to do. My hope is that the French will declare a direct democracy. And from there, you have to have assemblies and you have to build it. And you build it on the principles of direct democracy. You hold votes about every decision you make. There needs to be an expanded Bill of Rights that protects human rights to make sure that we don't, you know, vote whole groups of people out of existence just for their inherent characteristics or whatever. But I have confidence that the French can figure this out. I mean, there's something very special about the heart of France. Always has been. The fact that the Gilets jaunes came from France should not surprise anyone. You know, we cannot be grateful enough for that. And I hope to support them in these efforts as much as I can. I'm sorry to say this, but France is not a free country. I've seen it with my own eyes. I mean, it's just not. There's no freedom of speech, really. Every Saturday since I've been here, I've been to a manifest. I did 4 in Paris. I went to what was intended to be a small manifest in the town of Nîmes, and they arrested everybody before that even started. That was unbelievable. And then went to Marseille, and I've been back to Paris, and then just went to Nantes, and I'm back. In every case, there's been an intimidating police presence. I mean, this is not just some cops on the street. I mean, they are dressed like they're playing American football. They literally look like RoboCops. The gassing of people just for wanting to assemble and speak, I think I have been, I don't know how much tear gas I've inhaled in France, but too much. There are hundreds, at least 800 as I understand it, Gilets jaunes in jail right now. There have been thousands arrested for nothing more than coming to seek democracy. And to that there is violent repression.